The lighting of this chalice calls us to attention. As we focus on its flickering light for a moment, let us recall the shared intention that it represents. To make this a safe and sacred space for prayer and sharing in which we can reconnect with life's depths and our highest aspirations. A community of solidarity and trust to nurture and strengthen us for the days of our lives. May this little candle be a beacon that lights the way, guiding us through these still uncertain times and inspiring each of us to paths of peace, justice, and love. Words of the Reverend Jane Blackall. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm grateful to have all of you here, however you've traveled, whether you're here in person or joining us online. And I hope that whatever you're looking for in this space, whether it's joy and celebration, chance to share some tears and sorrow, to hear some words of wisdom, to connect with one another, or perhaps just simply to rest with the divine. Whatever it is that's brought you into this space, I hope you'll find it. I know you'll find a safe and loving community. And as I said, I'm grateful for each of you here, just as you are. I realized I was going to say this is actually the first in-person service for me, or a touch, because I had a week's holiday, and then we went to the cenotaph last week, and I'm grateful for this service, to be able to share this time with you. Today is a difficult Sunday as such. It's our safeguarding Sunday, where we talk about some of the precautions and elements that take to make sure that this place is a safe building for everyone, and what we can do as a community and as individuals to make sure that people who come into this space feel held, feel supported however they are. So we had those words from Jane Blackall to light our chalice. Let us turn a bit deeper into our worship with the words of William Wordsworth. Small service is true service while it lasts. Of humblest friends, bright creatures, scorn not one. The daisy, by the shadow that it casts, protects the lingering dewdrop from the sun. Even the daisy has its safeguarding role. And let us sing our first hymn in the Purple Book, number 30. Each Seeking Faith is Seeking Light by Brian Wren, hymn number 30. Thank you. Let us join together into a time of prayer with these anonymous words. This is then followed by our covenant, which you'll find printed in your order of worship and will appear online. But first, these words. Dear God, help us to be a church that loves, welcomes, protects, listens, learns, and serves, repents, restores, transforms, values, cares, believes. God of justice and compassion, hear our prayer. Help us, heal us, guide us. Amen. And please read with me our covenant. We gather here in sacred fellowship to witness the fullness of our lives and all life, to hold and be held, tell stories and listen, to be renewed and renew the world. We speak with care and patience. We act with gentleness and compassion. We forgive each other and ourselves. In faith that we build beloved community, we renew our covenant today. Amen. So today's story is about a girl named Jenny. And Jenny, in the summer, went to a summer camp, which I know isn't necessarily as big a thing here as it is in the States. So I don't know if I don't know how much of an explainer I have to give, but just people, you go and you can, there's lots of activities, lots of outdoorsy things, hiking, swimming, canoeing. And she was really excited, and she got there, and she didn't know anyone else who was going, so she thought she'd have a chance to meet a lot of people, to make some new friends, maybe even have a summer romance, but that's not the part of the story. So she went to the summer camp, which was going to be a week, and they told her all about the various activities they were going to do, and like I say, she was very excited. All of the other campers seemed excited as well. And the camp counselor said, and at the end of the week, we're all going to do a trust fall. Just out of curiosity, who here knows what a trust fall is? Okay, yeah. So, well, Jenny didn't know, and so she raised her hand and said, well, what's a trust fall? And the counselor said, well, we had, there's near a forest, and we go in the forest, and there's a tree that we've built a platform, and the platform's about this high, and each kid's going to get on that platform, and they're going to put their hands like that, and they're going to fall back. But all of the other campers are going to be there holding their hands like this to catch them. Oh. Jenny didn't like that idea. She was a bit nervous. What if the other campers weren't strong enough? Or what if they didn't like her and maybe they played a trick? Oh, she was so nervous. But she knew it was a week away, and she knew she wanted to enjoy things. So she thought, well, I'll just put that in the back of my mind, and I'll focus on enjoying myself. And that's indeed what happened. During the day, they'd go canoeing, they'd go swimming, they'd go hiking, and she'd have a great time. In the evening, they'd light a campfire, and they'd eat their food, and she loved the conversation and meeting people. And then she'd go to sleep, and she would wake up, it's in the early hours of the morning, and there would just be that little niggling thought, the trust fall. And it was just sort of quiet, and she'd be able to say, well, that's 7 days away. Okay. And then she'd get back to sleep. And then the next day, fantastic, enjoyment, wonderful time, meeting people. And then she'd go to sleep. She'd wake up in the early hours of the morning, trust fall. A little bit louder this time, because now it's only 6 days away. Wonderful days, every night waking up, having a little bit of that fear, just getting a little bit louder and louder and louder. 5 days, trust fall. 4 days, trust fall. 3 days, trust fall. She's getting so nervous about it, and those fears about what might happen, were just becoming more and more prominent. So finally, the night before the trust fall, she couldn't sleep a wink. That was all she was hearing. And so she thought, well, I need a plan. I need to practice. So she snuck out of her cabin, And she made her way out to the woods. And she found the platform, and it was really very, very high to her. So she thought, well, okay, I'm not going to do that, but I'll just fall where I am. So she did that. She put her hands on it, and she just leaned back and whoop, onto the ground. It hurt a bit. It caught her off guard. And she thought, oh, I don't like this at all. Yeah, no, there's no way I'm going to be doing this. So, she was a bit teary and a bit upset, and decided to make her way back to her cabin. And as she's walking back, she hears something. She hears some sticks snap, and she hears a thwomp, and then she hears, ow. And she goes to investigate, and there's another girl that she knows, Susmita, lying on the floor of the forest. And she says, well, what are you doing down there? And Susmita said, well, I was very worried about the trust fall. It's been worrying me all week. And so I just thought maybe if I practiced a bit, it would be all right. But I don't think I enjoy this very much. And Jenny said, I know. It's exactly why I'm out here. I was trying to fall, and I fell, and it hurt, and I didn't like it one bit. And Susmita said, the problem is that we don't, the other kids aren't here. We can't practice with them. And Jenny said, well, I can practice with you. And Susmita said, oh, yeah, I guess that's right. So that's what they did. Each one, Jenny sort of, would put her hands like that and fall back, and Susmita was there, and Susmita caught her. And then they turned around, and Susmita took her hands like that, and she fell back, and she was caught by Jenny. So they laughed. They enjoyed it so much. They were just having a ball. But then they realized, of course, they had to sneak back into the cabins so they weren't caught. And then, of course, that last final day was absolutely splendid. All the campers went out to the forest to do the trust fall, and they all did so well. So it was just Jenny and Susmita that perhaps needed to just be aware of that community that they had, and that they both have that sort of sense of being able to fall into each other's arms that helped them have such a splendid week. And so now you have a chance to proverbially, metaphorically fall here amongst us, to become vulnerable and to share of yourselves. If you want to light a candle of joy or sorrow, trial or triumph, please do so. And if you want to say a few words, do come to the microphone, so those who are using the loop system, those who are online will be able to hear you. If you are online, you can type into the chat box and we will read your message out. But of course, you're invited to light a candle in silence if you wish. And as always, if you want to remain seated, know that your presence here is enough. I have been asked to light a candle for Emma, who is unable to join us today. She's having some medical tests. So just hold her in your thoughts and your prayers.
There are people in your life who are, that I call life people, that go with you throughout life. And I'm lighting this candle for Joan, my friend in Bournemouth, because her partner's just been diagnosed with devastating terminal cancer diagnosis. And so I'm lighting that letter for my lifelong friend, Joan. Thank you.
for all those joys and sorrows here spoken, and those that remain silently in our hearts. Let us sing now our second hymn in the Purple Book, number 6, Elizabeth Alexander's As We Sing of Hope and Joy Today, hymn number 6. In a moment, I'll invite our safeguarding officer, Adam, to come forward and give a reading and talk a little bit about safeguarding at the chapel. But we wanted to, particularly because of the nature of his reading, just touch upon one of the challenges, I think, for churches nowadays. There's an increasing recognition on talking about safeguarding and on being sort of quite open about issues. But these can, by their very nature, be sort of quite triggering events. Pete, I know many of your stories, but I don't know all of the stories of your lives, and there might be things that come up which you might find quite challenging. This is, part of the nature of life and part of the call for our ministry. I was going to say, as Unitarians and as this chapel, that we recognize the stories in our lives and the authenticity, and we help each other through these challenges. So it's never easy to talk about some of these things, particularly in the reading today. Adam found on an Essex support site called the Center for Action on Rape and Abuse. So just be aware that that some of our topics can be challenging, but I think they're also necessary. I think some of the historic issues that chapels and places of worship have had are partly because of this inability for people to find a way to have honest and open discussions on these subjects. So I'm really grateful for Adam for finding this reading, for giving us an opportunity to explore challenging topics in this safe and secure environment. And if you do find yourself sort of distressed, or if things are coming up and you need someone to speak with, I'm more than happy to have some pastoral conversations. I know Adam is very willing, and obviously, one another, we're a safe and safe space, and I hope we can demonstrate that. Thank you.
Hi, so as Cody said, the reading today is a poem. And the they're the words of an anonymous survivor from the Centre for Action on Rape and Abuse. And although it's from that organisation, I just feel it typifies the sort of approach to safeguarding that we want to take at Cross Street Chapel and that we're trying to foster here. And if, as Cody was saying as well, if anyone needs to speak about safeguarding, a matter that's concerning them or someone that they're concerned about, then you can email safeguarding at crossstreet.org.uk, crossstreetchapel.org.uk. My phone number is also available, so we can have a chat, or I might not always be able to answer the phone straight away, but if you leave a message or send me a text saying that you want to talk about safeguarding, then I will get back to you so we can have a conversation. So yeah, the first 4 lines are an anagram for the organisation. So maybe at some point we could think of things that relate to Cross Street Chapel. So C, cover from the storm. A, all are welcome. R, rain won't fall on you. A, as they are the umbrella. They will listen. You will be heard. No pressure, just understanding. Hold your hand when climbing your mountain. A community is offered, but never forced. Believed, encouraged, supported, enabled, resourced. Help getting justice, if that's what you want. Comfort at all times, for when you are lost. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Let us return now to a time of worship with these words of the Reverend Maud Robinson. Mysterious, unfathomable universe, inspirer of awe and wonder, and soaring of the spirit. There are times when the greatness of the universe seems cold and distant as a black night sky. Times when my heart cries out not for awe, but for embrace and consolation. On days like this, I call out to you as a parent. Wrap me in that great embrace of care and compassion that I've known for my own dear ones. Today I need to call out, tender parent, nurturing and protective, silent strength of love, care for my tattered soul. Wrap me in your embrace. Cradle me in that love that passes all understanding, until the day I can again move out in strength and power to lift my eyes in awe, in wonder at that greater power and splendor. Amen. And so let us enter into a period of silence for reflection, meditation, contemplation, and personal prayer. Thank you, Aaron. We come to our next hymn, number 17 in the Purple Book, Andrew Hill's Carrying God, You're Watching O'er Us, hymn number 17. We don't do many one-verse hymns, so my apologies for doing that. Short but sweet. Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. That's the words of Jesus as recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verses 3 and 4. Before I began formal training for the ministry, I was directed towards a number of sort of opportunities and initiatives, both within Unitarianism, such as the Worship Leaders course, and even sort of further afield, including a program that was being run at the time at Luther King House, which housed the Unitarian College Manchester, sorry, one of our training institutions. And they had a program called Church Saturdays, and throughout the course of the year, I think it happened about, of course, about once every 4 months or 3 months or so, they'd have a whole day Saturday, and you could go and sign up for various courses. Aspiring for the ministry, there was one on pastoral care, which I thought would be very helpful and felt like it was an area of inexperience for myself. That had both sort of introductory, sort of general elements, but then also 3 specific areas of focus: pastoral care for those who are bereaved, for those who are progressing through dementia, and then for children, and how you might provide pastoral care for children and families. As I say, this was all new to me. Like Jenny, I was unfamiliar with it. It felt very nerve-wracking. But it was a great opportunity to participate and to work alongside a number of people from other denominations and to see how their practices might differ or be similar to ours. There's a great deal of sort of collaboration nowadays about sort of, pastoral care and how it's carried out amongst mainstream Protestant churches, I think. So the teacher, when discussing children, presented, I think it was that passage or one of the other passages about sort of, about the treatment of children that Jesus speaks of. And we were asked to reflect on what quality of childhood it was that Jesus had wanted us to emulate. I raised my hand, and, in a boast of confidence, talked about that sort of exploration and sense of curiosity, which is something I always put in, always sort of reflect and think many children have. As a Unitarian, it's one of our, I think, great sort of notions of exploring and being open and excited about the world and what you can encounter. So I said curiosity. I think Jesus was asking us to be receptive and curious about the world. To which she said, well, not all children are curious. Some are fine just sort of simply being. Some just exist in their own world, and that's sort of enough for them. And it was a sort of a challenge to a response that I firstly hadn't anticipated. And 15 or so years on from that exchange, I can see how it was sort of quite true that children possess a great diversity within themselves, within their themselves and their personalities. And so, speaking of something like that I see in many children, but not all, was perhaps not what this teacher was going for. I forget if anyone else contributed what they thought, but the teacher eventually gave us the answer, as they often do, which was vulnerability. That these children are vulnerable, that they don't have the knowledge that we as adults have, that they don't have the wherewithal that we do, that they don't have the familiarity with the world and its institutions and structures, that they lack the privilege that comes with age, that they lack the connections that come from having decades of experience with communities, and that in some cases they lack the very physical strength, emotional strength, to sort of deal with the challenges that life gives them. And this teacher wanted us to reflect on that sense of vulnerability that she felt Jesus was calling us to be, and for which she thought we needed to take a focus when we're reflecting on how we might provide pastoral care to children. I think I really understood a lot better at that point, just how vulnerable children are. And having a child myself now, I can see very much, not just the vulnerability. Part of the sign that they are so vulnerable, I think, is that many of them are always pushing for their independence. Maybe that's specific to my son. He's always, and sometimes succeeds in getting his independence, and sometimes that plays out fantastically when he's able to assert himself and explore the world, and sometimes it feels like it goes sort of drastically wrong, and we as parents have to step in and provide support and care for him. The specific, of course, verse that Matthew uses the word humble, and that fascinates me quite much, because another sort of quality that I ascribe to many, maybe not all, but to many children, I don't say it's a boastfulness, but there's a certain confidence. I remember being really young, and my brother was in Scouts, and we would go to this this sort of like jamboree, and there was a mic on stage, and I don't know what possessed me, but I went up to that mic with no prompting and just spoke into it. I can't remember what I said. I think I was pulled off very quickly by my parents. But there was a confidence that took a long time, that sort of I eventually lost and took a long time to regain. When I was at university, when I was studying music, we had a trombone. We brought in a guest lecturer to talk about teaching and pedagogy. It was a trombone player from Chicago, and he brought along some of his students who were sort of older primary age children, school children. And here they are at this, at this sort of great institution. These college level and age musicians who are working really hard to make a dent in their field. And here are these sort of kids at the start of their music career playing for us. And they were fine with that. They were confident about that. And they were confident to answering questions and speaking. There was one kid who was a little older, and he was a bit more nervous. And I think there's something about the sort of the social pressures and that age that sort of knocks that confidence back. So I just find it quite fascinating that Jesus talks about that sense of humbleness, being in children. It's not something I have always seen, but again, if we're looking at it from that perspective, not necessarily of cutting ourselves down, but of being vulnerable, then maybe it makes a bit more sense. Becoming vulnerable is not simply being at risk of injury, though that's very much an important topic for today, being Safeguarding Sunday. Vulnerability is also a being at risk of authenticity. And that's another quality that many children possess. They can simply be themselves. They don't have to worry about, they will eventually, but they don't have to worry about the social pressures, the institutional pressures that are placed upon them. They don't know about them, and so they get to just be who they want to be. It's something that we unlearn, which is a great shame. Because at heart, we are all vulnerable in life. Even if we have those periods where we feel very strong, we are subject to the laws of the physical world and nature. We're subject to society and legal structures. and our own communities with their personal and emotional expectations. But we still have that vulnerability, and we just try to lose the sense of it, I suppose. Like children that are pushing for their independence, we're rejecting that vulnerability. But we do so in a different way. We're building stone hearts. We're building walls around our emotions, building dams to keep the flood of our tears from pouring forth. Many of you will know that my dams have a lot of holes in them because I cry very easily. Though I wonder in some ways whether that's a barrier too, whether it's a way of making myself appear sort of so fragile that people can't engage, or I can't engage with those sort of deep emotions. So we build up these walls to maintain some autonomy against the vulnerability that we possess in this world. But we are all vulnerable. Like Jenny and the trust fall, we must rely on others, which can be a very scary thing if you don't know what's happening in their lives, what's going on in their minds, your relation with them. But it is an inherent fact of life. Last year, I talked about buses. It's one of my sort of favorite ways of sort of talking about safeguarding here at the chapel. I know we make a lot of jokes about public services and public transportation, and I know some of us have had circumstances today that will go against what I'll just say, but this, I think, is a great illustration of safeguarding. So when you get on the bus, you are putting your life in their hands. You're assuming that the bus is in good condition, that it's full of fuel, that it won't encounter any low bridges that might scupper its journey. You're trusting that the bus driver has gotten a good night's sleep, that they're well paid so that they don't have to worry about finances when they're driving the bus. You're trusting that the bus company has insured the bus, has trained people, has the structures in place in case anything does go wrong. So you are literally placing your life in their hands when you get on the bus. And it's a similar way here at chapel. You are placing your life with us. You're coming into this space where you hopefully can be vulnerable, where you can share your life, you can share the challenges that you face, and you will be received and held with care. Some of the things you might place your trust in, deal with, say, health and safety, making sure the building it's a sound building, but also the relationships are there too, and that's what safeguarding is about. There's a lot of sort of really intricate and challenging definitions of vulnerable adults, but one of the easiest to understand for me was told when I first did training for safeguarding, which was anyone who is in receipt of a service. Anyone who gets on that bus is a vulnerable adult because they have placed their trust in those people. Anyone that comes into our chapel to use it or to be part of our worship are placing their lives in our hands, and so are vulnerable. So we have our policies and our practices. It's all detailed in our safeguarding policy, which you find in our outer office, and as well as online. The front page does need to change because we did review it by July 31st. So I forget when it'll be 26 that it needs to be reviewed. But it details the way that we might manage, concerns, concerning behavior. If you witness something that you're unsure of, or you face, some interaction that sets you aback, you can read through, and it presents, like Adam said, his phone number for contacting, and our deputy safeguarding officer at present is there if Adam's unavailable or if there's a conflict of interest. Joe as our safeguarding trustee, they make up our safeguarding team. It then details as well sort of further resources if for some reason you can't get in touch with any of them, or if it's such a significant emergency. We're part of an organization called 318, and the details about how to contact them to sort of detail sort of allegations or concerns there, as well as sort of local organizations such as the local area deputy officer, the LADO, that and sort of police and so forth. So we have this policy. It only makes sense. It's only worth the paper it's written on if it's actually followed through. If it's actually, if we actually live up to it. So I'm very grateful that we have this service to sort of remind ourselves that we have it and that we can, seek to follow it and seek to do better each year. There is often pushback from churches about professionalization becoming too legalistic or too policy-oriented, but it's these policies and structures that allow people to become vulnerable in this chapel and to feel safe, and if something does go wrong, to have a way of rectifying it, and sort of trying to return as best as we can to some greater care for one another. And it involves all of us. It involves all of us looking after one another, supporting one another, being those arms, in the trust fall to catch one another, and being willing to make ourselves vulnerable and to fall into each other's arms as and when we need to. That verse that I began our sermon with today from Matthew concludes by saying, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." And so let us, just as we want to be vulnerable in this space, we also must be willing to encounter the vulnerability of others. Amen. Thank you. A few notices before we sing our final hymn. I have misplaced my order of worship. It's all right. I think most stuff I'll remember. Next week is Transgender Day of Remembrance for the service, and then afterwards we are welcoming the CEO from Wood Street Mission is going to talk about the hard work that they do supporting sort of economically marginalized communities in Manchester and families especially. That's because the following week, the 30th, is our Advent service. Please do bring a new toy or food, or food for the Wood Street Mission. Afterwards, we have a shared meal, so if you're able to stay and continue with us, then please do sign up for that. And after that, for those that stick around, we decorate the chapel in preparation for the Christmas season. So that's in 2 weeks' time, the 30th. And then you see our upcoming events in December as well. You'll also have a little flyer, a little sort of leaflet to fill in if you are interested in, if you will be coming to our carols service on the 14th of December and you wish to nominate a carol. I can't promise, it depends. If we get 40 recommendations, I'm afraid we won't be able to get through them all. But I will try to make sure that that the most requests will get sort of cared for as much. So please do fill in that, and if you're willing to give a reading as well. And it's also I think it's jumpers and carols. So please do, if you have a Christmas-themed jumper, please do bring that along. Are there any announcements or notices from the congregation? Let us then sing our final hymn in the Purple Book, 198. We laugh, we cry, we sing, we die, by Shelley Jackson Denham, hymn number 100. Oh, it's 193. Yeah. 193? 193. Okay. We laugh, we cry, we sing, we die. Yeah, 193.
Sing our song.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, for that fantastic music. Thank you, Joe, for the IT. Thank you, Richard, for the tea and coffee that we're about to enjoy, and Adam for that reading. Thank you to Sonia for these beautiful flowers. A reminder that if you wish to donate flowers, especially in memory of someone or in some sense of achievement or some calendar season, please let us know. So that's always an option to contribute to the chapel. And thank you to Alan and Sonia for greeting, and Sonia for the preparation with Joe. Thank you to everyone for creating and sharing worship today. We close with these words of Wendell Berry. A community is the mental and spiritual condition of knowing that the place is shared, and that the people who share the place define and limit the possibilities of each other's lives. It is the knowledge that people have of each other, their concern for each other, their trust in each other, the freedom with which they come and go among themselves. Amen.